On July 26, 2022, the Morales family experienced a seemingly ordinary summer day. At approximately 6:00 p.m., 16-year-old Susanna left her house to visit a friend who resided just a short 10-minute walk away. The day progressed without any notable events, and Susanna even sent a text to her mother Maria around 10 p.m., assuring her that she would be returning home shortly. However, the following morning brought a dark twist as Susanna was nowhere to be found. The task of reporting her as missing proved to be quite challenging. Despite the determined efforts of her family and the community, Susanna never returned home. In an attempt to retrace her steps and gather information, her phone's location data was analyzed. This analysis revealed a chilling clue in the form of surveillance footage, which showed Susanna just 1 minute away from her own home. Unfortunately, instead of providing answers, the footage only deepened the mystery. What could have transpired within such a short span of time? This case is filled with unexpected twists and turns that will keep you captivated until the very end. The truth behind Susanna's disappearance may prove to be more elusive than initially anticipated. Susanna Morales, born on June 24, 2006, belonged to a close-knit Hispanic family. Her mother Maria and stepfather Leo were an integral part of her life. As the youngest member of the family, Susanna had 2 older sisters, Jasmine and Jalissa, whom she shared a strong bond with. Additionally, she had a stepbrother whom she adored. Among her loved ones, her sister Jasmine held the title of her best friend. The 2 sisters were inseparable, sharing their secrets and spending quality time together. In the summer of 2012, Susanna resided in Norcross, Georgia, and attended Meadow Creek High School as a freshman. She was highly regarded by her peers for her exceptional cheerleading skills and her kind-hearted nature. Susanna possessed remarkable musical talents, showcasing her enchanting voice and self-taught skills in playing the guitar and ukulele. Additionally, she cherished spending time with her close-knit family and friends, engaging in various activities such as watching movies and organizing delightful picnics. However, Susanna's joyous days were not destined to last indefinitely. On July 26, 2022, an ordinary day for the Morales family, Susanna, who was on summer break, returned home after a day out with her mother Maria. With the impending school reopening, Susanna and her mother had plans to shop for school supplies the following day. Eager to earn some extra money before the school year commenced, Susanna was determined to work hard and prepare for the upcoming academic challenges. After arriving home, they took a moment to relax and unwind from their busy day. Around 6 p.m., Susanna informed her mother that she intended to visit a friend whose identity remained undisclosed for privacy reasons. This friend resided in close proximity to the Morales house, just a brief 6 to 10-minute walk away. Specifically, the friend lived at Sterling Glen Apartments, situated a mere 9 miles from Susanna's residence on Santa Ana Drive. They were close friends and Susanna frequently spent time there. The Morales family wasn't concerned because Susanna had taken that route many times before. After Maria gave her approval, Susanna confidently stepped out wearing comfortable blue jeans, a sunny yellow tank top, and white Crocs. It was around 6 p.m. when Maria texted Susanna to make sure she had arrived safely. Susanna replied, assuring her mother that she was spending time at her friend's house and would return home later that night. Everything seemed normal, but little did the Morales family know that this would turn into a nightmarish experience. Susanna stayed at her friend's place for a few hours and messaged her mom shortly before 10 p.m., informing her that she was on her way back home. However, as time passed, Susanna still hadn't arrived home even after 10 minutes. This raised concerns for Maria, prompting her to check if everything was all right or if her daughter needed a ride. Maria tried calling Susanna, but there was no answer. Hours went by, and there was still no sign of Susanna. The entire family grew increasingly worried considering the possibility that Susanna might have decided to spend the night at her friend's place. They wondered if her phone had died or if she had forgotten to inform them. Consequently, they decided to wait until the next morning, hoping Susanna would return on her own. However, when morning came, Susanna was still nowhere to be found, intensifying their worry. On July 27, 2022, the family made the difficult decision to contact the police. Maria called the Gwinnett County Police Department around 9:00 a.m., as it had been nearly 12 hours since anyone had seen or heard from Susanna. Unfortunately, their concerns were met with frustration, as the police insisted on waiting for 48 hours before officially considering Susanna as missing. Their rationale for this decision was that teenagers, particularly girls, have been known to elope with their boyfriends or attend parties without informing their families. However, Susanna's family was well aware that she did not fit into that category of teenagers. They had complete faith in her responsible nature and knew that she would always ensure her family was aware of her whereabouts and safety. Moreover, Susanna had not taken any of her personal belongings with her: no clothes, no shoes, and no cash. She had only taken her purse with a small amount of money, a makeup, and her phone. This behavior was completely out of character for Susanna, as she had never done anything like this before. Susanna's family had a strong intuition that something was amiss. They repeatedly informed the police that she had not run away and urged them to initiate a search for her. However, the police remained unyielding, stating that there was no evidence of a crime, no signs of abduction, no injuries, and no immediate danger to Susanna. They even refused to alert the community about her disappearance and advised them to be vigilant. This lack of action from the police was even more distressing, considering the critical importance of the initial 48 hours in such cases. Naturally, Susanna's family felt immense frustration. Nevertheless, they were determined not to passively wait for the crucial 48 hours to elapse. Without any assistance from the police, they took matters into their own hands and launched an independent search operation to bring Susanna back home. The family tirelessly distributed flyers throughout the neighborhood, asking everyone if they had seen Susanna on the night she went missing. They shared a picture of her wearing light blue jeans, a yellow tank top, and white Crocs, urging people to delve into their memories and recall any unusual sightings that could aid in locating Susanna. They also sought help online, and fortunately, a neighbor came forward with a vital piece of information. He mentioned that he had a security camera installed outside his residence, which had recorded Susanna's presence on the night she went missing. Upon reviewing the footage, it became evident that Susanna was walking back towards her neighborhood after 10 p.m. What intrigued everyone was the fact that this location was merely a minute away from her home. Jasmine, Susanna's sister, strongly believed that something must have gone wrong within that 1-minute time frame. The security footage left no room for doubt, as it clearly showed Susanna walking alone, carrying her phone, with no indication of an attempt to flee. This served as undeniable proof to Susanna's family that she had every intention of returning home. They presented this compelling evidence to the police, hoping for assistance, but shockingly, the authorities hesitated to help the Morales family. It seemed as though the urgency of the situation was lost on the police, as they downplayed the case despite the solid evidence that Susanna was not a rebellious teenager running away. The family was left shattered and infuriated by the police's refusal to aid them and their reluctance to inform the public about Susanna's disappearance. All they sought was basic assistance and a public notice, but it felt like an uphill battle. Eventually, under immense pressure from the family, the police reluctantly began taking action. They decided to examine Susanna's phone records in hopes of finding a clue about her last known location. This information was crucial in establishing a timeline of her movements. Upon reviewing her phone records, it was discovered that on the night she vanished, Susanna was walking along Singleton Road between 10:07 p.m. and 10:21 p.m. Subsequently, between 10:21 p.m. and 10:26 p.m., her phone's location data indicated that she was near Oak Brook Terrace, close to Steve Reynolds Boulevard. However, after that point, it appeared that her phone either ran out of battery or was intentionally turned off, as there was no further information regarding Susanna's whereabouts. The police had their own theories to explain the situation, but they lacked credibility. According to their belief, between 10:21 and 10:26 p.m., Susanna could have willingly entered a vehicle and ended up at Oak Brook Terrace near Steve Reynolds Boulevard, which was a considerable distance from the Morales house. However, Susanna's family refused to accept this theory. It didn't make sense for Susanna, who was clearly heading home, to suddenly decide to go to a faraway place late at night without informing her family. The consistent location of Susanna's phone indicated that she was on her way back home, and even the security video didn't show her turning back or getting into any vehicle. Therefore, the idea of her voluntarily leaving to another location in a vehicle seemed highly unlikely. Susanna's family knew her well, and this behavior was out of character for her. They were convinced that something terrible had happened. Unfortunately, despite its crucial evidence, the case seemed to be progressing slowly. There were no press statements, no significant advancements in the investigation, and it felt as though the police were not putting in much effort to find Susanna. This left everyone with a burning question. Why wasn't Susanna's disappearance a top priority for the police? Although the police were fixated on the idea that Susanna might be a runaway, there were some troubling questions. Most importantly, could a teenager be on the run for such a long time without any of her belongings? Susanna's family was doing everything they could to find her. In the month following her disappearance, they tirelessly worked to keep her name in the spotlight within their community and pursued every lead, even though they all turned out to be dead ends. The family even reached out to news stations to discuss Susanna, desperate to spread the word and prevent the case from losing momentum. Jasmine participated in various TV interviews discussing her sister, but it was Maria's conversation with Telemundo Atlanta regarding the night Susanna went missing that brought a glimmer of hope for the family. Telemundo Atlanta played a vital role in the Morales family's search for Susanna, offering unwavering support. Maria even mentioned feeling discriminated against by the Gwinnett County Police Department, possibly due to a language barrier, as the family primarily spoke Spanish. Telemundo Atlanta stepped up as their voice and greatly assisted the Morales family in spreading awareness. One particular reporter, Alexandra Martinez, went above and beyond, investing significant effort to ensure the community was informed about the case and to exert pressure on the police. Alexandra persistently emailed the Gwinnett County Police Department, urging updates in the investigation. Most importantly, she posed the question that weighed on everyone's mind. Why hadn't the police issued a statement about Susanna Morales? The public's pressure played a pivotal role in compelling the police to take action, and Telemundo Atlanta left no stone unturned in demonstrating that they wouldn't allow the story to fade away. As the community and the public became aware of the police's negligence, discussions erupted on social media and TV, forcing the police to realize they needed to solve this case. Fortunately, the pressure exerted by the public actually worked, and the police finally sprang into action, likely due to the fear of facing public scrutiny. Approximately a month after Susanna's disappearance, on August 29, 2022, the police finally issued a press statement about her case. This marked the first time they publicly acknowledged Susanna's disappearance and sought the public's assistance. However, strangely, they added that while any missing young person is considered endangered, they did not believe Susanna was in immediate danger or being held against her will. The community questioned why the disappearance of a 16-year-old girl who had been missing for over a month did not raise more concern among the police. While it was not uncommon for teenagers to turn off their phones for a night out, It was highly unusual for Susanna to keep her phone off for such an extended period of time. Most teenagers would have turned on their phones to communicate with others, check social media, or stay updated. The prolonged silence from Susanna was deeply troubling. Jasmine was incredibly grateful for the support from the community, who shared Susanna's case on social media platforms like Facebook and Twitter, spreading the word far and wide. Additionally, Crime Stoppers Atlanta offered a $2,000 reward for any information that could help bring Susanna back safely. Finally, the police began making efforts to pursue leads and tips brought to their attention, and Susanna's family was doing the same. Whenever a tip came in, regardless of its location, the Morales family wasted no time in driving to the specified location, holding on to hope that they would be reunited with Susanna. Jasmine, in particular, was relentless in her efforts, traveling out of state and organizing rallies in her determined quest to find her sister. She also closely monitored Susanna's Instagram and TikTok accounts, hoping for any sign of activity, but they remained eerily silent. The family and friends joined forces, organizing walks while holding up posters and urging anyone who spotted someone resembling Susanna to take a picture and send it to them or the police immediately. Despite months passing without any word from Susanna, the police still clung to the belief that she may have run away, insisting that nothing bad had happened to her. A police spokesperson reassured the public that detectives would diligently follow up on every case and investigate every lead, regardless of whether the missing person was considered a runaway or not. Detectives diligently pursued every case and thoroughly investigated every lead. Despite press releases, rallies, TV interviews, and community efforts, there was no significant progress in the case. Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's passed without any word from Susanna, causing worry and uncertainty among everyone. The police remained silent during this time, further adding to the anxiety. It wasn't until January 2023 that the police finally contacted Susanna's family for more information about the case. Strangely, they also requested DNA samples from Susanna and her mother Maria's dental records, raising concerns within the family. They wondered why the police would ask for such information, leading them to believe that Susanna might already be deceased and that the data would be needed for confirmation in the future. The family couldn't help but feel nervous about the shift in focus from a missing person to a search for a dead body. During an interview with Telemundo Atlanta, Maria expressed her feelings of loneliness and frustration. She shared her emotional journey of traveling to South Carolina to follow a lead, and her words were truly heart-wrenching. Maria explained how torn she was between searching for leads in her daughter's case and fulfilling her work obligations. Her boss insisted that she return to her job in Georgia, but Maria desperately tried to convey the importance of the lead she had received. She felt compelled to follow it, even if it meant risking her career. Maria couldn't hold back her tears during the interview, as she was overwhelmed by fear. She knew the risks involved, but was willing to take them if it meant being reunited with her daughter. Susanna was constantly on her mind, and she couldn't help but worry about her well-being. She wondered if Susanna had been abducted, taken somewhere against her will, or left in a dangerous situation. The uncertainty of whether Susanna was alive or not consumed her thoughts. Finally, in February 2023, she received an answer, although it was not the one she had hoped for. The turn of events would completely change the course of the story. On February 6, 2023, around 6:30 p.m., a driver traveling on Highway 316 between Downing Creek and Barrow County made a stop to take a phone call. As he walked into a nearby wood area while speaking on the phone, he stumbled upon something disturbing. As he approached, shock washed over him when he realized that he had discovered human remains. This discovery marked a devastating turning point in the case. The driver immediately contacted the police, who quickly arrived at the scene and secured it. The remains were then taken to the Gwinnett County Medical Examiner's office. Through further testing, the medical examiner made a grim but crucial confirmation. The human remains belonged to none other than 16-year-old Susanna Morales. The identification was made using DNA samples and dental records provided by her family. This news was not what anyone had expected. Instead of welcoming Susanna back home safely, the family had to come to terms with the heartbreaking reality that she had tragically lost her life. The thought of Susanna's lifeless body being left in that secluded wood area for an extended period shattered their hearts. It was even more painful knowing that they had spent months pleading for the case to be taken seriously, as they had a deep sense that something terrible had happened. Unfortunately, their pleas had gone unanswered. While this news was devastating, it also brought a sense of relief to the family. Finally, they knew where Susanna was and what had happened to her. This presented them with the opportunity to bring her back home, provide her with a proper burial, and give her the resting place she deserved. They wanted to create a space where they could visit her, remember her, and have conversations with her. Additionally, the Morales family started a GoFundMe campaign to assist with the funeral expenses. With the incredible support from the community, they were able to raise over $23,000 to honor Susanna's memory. After finding Susanna's body, the disturbing question that plagued everyone's mind was who could have committed such a heinous act against a 16-year-old girl, and what could have been the motive behind it. In their pursuit of answers, the police decided to retrace the events of the night Susanna went missing. Upon a thorough examination of the timeline, they concluded that Susanna met her tragic fate on the very night she disappeared. When the family reported her missing at 9:00 a.m. on July 27th, Susanna was likely already deceased. To initiate the investigation into Susanna's murder, the authorities made the decision to return to the wood area where her body had been found. Their hope was to discover any clues that could unravel the mystery of what had transpired on that fateful night and how Susanna ended up in that particular location. In a surprising twist that deepened the enigma, they stumbled upon a firearm near Susanna's remains. However, despite this discovery, no gunshot wound was found on her body. When they checked the weapon's serial number in their system, it led them to a 22-year-old individual named Miles Bryant. This revelation was not just another development in the case, it was an unexpected twist that no one could have anticipated. As it turned out, Miles Bryant was a police officer employed by the Doraville Police Department. This prompted the authorities to delve deeper into Bryant's background, and what they uncovered raised serious concerns. It was revealed that Bryant had previously served as a sworn sheriff's deputy in Forsyth County from March 2020 to May 2021. Just a few months later, in September 2021, he began his new career at the Doraville Police Department, where he remained employed until the day Susanna's body was discovered. Law enforcement was perplexed by this discovery because finding a gun linked to a police officer near Susanna's body seemed too coincidental to overlook. Determined to uncover the truth, authorities began investigating Bryant's actions. What they uncovered raised suspicions. It turned out that Bryant had reported his gun as stolen on the same day Susanna was reported missing. In his report, he explained that he had accidentally left his truck door unlocked, providing an opportunity for someone to steal his gun, military ID, and wallet containing his debit and credit cards. The timing of Bryant's report, filed just 2 hours after Susanna's family reported her missing on July 27, 2022, puzzled investigators. Furthermore, Bryant resided in the same apartment complex as Susanna's friend, who she had visited on the night of July 26, 2022, at the Sterling Glen Apartments. Bryant was not just a neighbor, he also worked as a courtesy security officer for the building. With Bryant's connection to the area where Susanna was last seen established, the police decided to closely monitor him, hoping to observe any unusual behavior or find clues linking him to her disappearance. After Susanna's body was discovered, the Gwinnett County Police conducted days of surveillance and additional investigations, leading to the issuance of an arrest warrant for Bryant on the afternoon of February 13, 2023. Bryant was taken into custody, and authorities searched his residence, collecting a bed sheet from his car. They also impounded both his personal vehicle and his patrol car as part of their ongoing investigation. A few days after Bryant's arrest, he faced serious charges, including concealing Susanna Morales' death and making a false report about his missing gun. Although the detectives refrained from disclosing specific details regarding whether Susanna had experienced physical assault, they were confident in ruling out the possibility of her being shot. They held the belief that Bryant's firearm played no role in the murder, instead suspecting that he may have misplaced or accidentally dropped it while departing from the scene. Following Bryant's arrest, the Doraville Police Department, where he had previously served, released an official statement. They confirmed being notified on Monday, February 13, 2023, that a former police officer was being served felony arrest warrants by the Gwinnett County Police Department. The city of Doraville and its police department expressed their complete cooperation with the ongoing investigation conducted by Gwinnett County authorities. They extended their thoughts and prayers to Susanna's family, friends, and all those affected by this tragic event. Subsequently, the police department held a press conference, describing the incident as an unimaginable tragedy that deeply impacted both the community and law enforcement. While uncertain about the exact circumstances surrounding Susanna's death, they were certain of Miles Bryant's responsibility. The shocking aspect was that the perpetrator was a police officer, intensifying the distress caused by the crime. The detectives conveyed their unwavering determination to uncover the complete truth behind the events that occurred on the night of July 26, 2022, regarding Susanna. Numerous theories were considered by the police, and based on their findings, it was determined that after Susanna messaged her mother shortly before 10 p.m. on July 26, informing her of her journey home, something transpired between 10 and 10:30 p.m., during which Susanna seemingly encountered Bryant and was somehow persuaded to enter his vehicle. The specifics of what unfolded thereafter remained shrouded in mystery, but investigators suspected that Susanna tragically lost her life sometime between 10 p.m. on July 26 and 2 a.m. on July 27. Despite these theories, several unanswered questions persisted. Authorities were unable to find any evidence linking Susanna and Bryant, raising the question of why a 16-year-old would willingly enter a stranger's car, especially when she was so close to home. Susanna's family, who had no knowledge of Bryant, put forth a chilling theory. They believed that living in the same apartment complex as Susanna's friend, Bryant had observed her daily activities and secretly planned her abduction. The tragic night of July 26, 2022, may have provided him with the opportunity he had been waiting for, allowing him to put his sinister plans into action. However, the police also considered an alternative theory that this could have been a random attack. They speculated that Bryant and Susanna may have never crossed paths before, but seeing her walking alone that night, he took advantage of her vulnerability. Some even suspected that he may have used his position as a police officer to manipulate and coax Susanna into his vehicle. Amidst these swirling theories, one thing the police were certain of was that Bryant's intentions appeared to be deadly from the beginning. Learning that a police officer was responsible for her sister's death left Jasmine in utter disbelief. The idea that someone sworn to protect and serve the community could commit such a heinous act was unimaginable to them. However, there were more shocking revelations to come. It was discovered that in 2018, Bryant had faced accusations of attempting to enter a neighbor's house through a window. When the police responded to the incident, Bryant vehemently denied any wrongdoing, claiming he had never tried to enter through the window. Surprisingly, the neighbor opted against filing charges against Bryant, resulting in the case being closed without any further investigation. Just as it seemed that every detail of this dark tale had been exposed, there was more yet to be uncovered. Shortly after these revelations came to light, a courageous woman named Alicia Bates came forward to share her disturbing encounter with Bryant. She disclosed that during the same period when Susanna went missing, she had actually been stalked by Miles Bryant. Alicia, who is now 21 years old, had known Bryant since they were in 5th grade. However, as they grew older, Bryant attempted to reconnect with her, causing her to feel uncomfortable and uneasy in his presence. Alicia made it explicitly clear to Bryant that she wanted no involvement with him and insisted that he keep his distance. Unfortunately, Bryant's response to Alicia's request was far from ordinary. Instead of respecting her wishes, he began to stalk and harass her. His behavior was so aggressive that Alicia felt compelled to take drastic measures to protect herself, including acquiring a firearm out of fear for her own life. In addition, she filed a report about Bryant's troubling behavior with both the Doraville Police Department and the Gwinnett County Police Department. Nonetheless, her apprehension persisted because Bryant was a law enforcement officer, and she feared that her complaints would be disregarded, resulting in no meaningful action taken against him. On a particular day when Alicia was away from her residence, an audacious attempt was made to break into her apartment. Fortunately, her neighbor possessed a Ring camera that recorded the unsettling incident. As Alicia reviewed the footage, she was astounded to discover that the intruder was none other than Bryant himself. In the footage, Bryant can be observed lurking around Alicia's apartment, attempting to forcefully open the door and tugging at the doorknob. He even wore a hoodie to conceal his identity. However, what truly shocked her was that when Alicia reported this terrifying incident to the Doraville Police Department, no substantial action was taken. They did initiate an internal investigation into Bryant's behavior, but it yielded no significant consequences for him. Surprisingly, the response merely consisted of a conversation with Bryant, where they instructed him to cease his stalking and harassment. There were no terminations or punishments. It concluded with mere words. Nevertheless, now that Bryant was being apprehended for Susanna's murder, the Gwinnett County Police Department had promised to reopen Alicia's case, which would unveil yet another disturbing chapter in this disconcerting narrative. Despite her own encounter, Susanna's case came as a shock to Alicia. She was unable to comprehend the fact that not only had Bryant potentially harassed Susanna, but he had also taken her life. She expressed profound remorse for this tragedy. Alicia firmly believes that both the Doraville Police Department and the Gwinnett County Police Department did not take sufficient action. If they had taken her reports seriously from the beginning, Bryant could have been arrested and held accountable sooner. In her perspective, this could have made a significant difference, and perhaps Susanna would still be alive today. 22-year-old Miles Bryant finally appeared in court on March 23, 2023, to face his charges. The judge made a crucial decision by denying him bond, expressing concerns about the threat he posed to the community. Interestingly, in early March, another troubling charge was added to his list of criminal activities. It was related to a 2019 incident where a woman he had attended high school with had her home broken into while she was away. Security cameras captured the intruder, and she had reported it to the police at that time, but the case was closed. However, after Bryant's arrest, this woman recognized him and became convinced that he was the one who had broken into their home in 2019. She went back to the police not only to inform them about it, but also to emphasize that she had never shared her address with Bryant. Now, there was enough evidence to charge Bryant. On May 1st, 2023, Bryant found himself back in court, this time appealing to the judge for bond. The prosecution was also well prepared for their arguments. As Bryant entered the courtroom in handcuffs and restraints, one of the family members couldn't bear the emotions, breaking down in tears and leaving the courtroom. The prosecution presented all the disturbing instances where Bryant abused his authority as a Doraville police officer and engaged in troubling behavior. The actions committed by Bryant were appalling, involving breaking into women's homes, stealing their belongings, and invading their privacy by accessing personal videos on their phones. Despite Bryant's attorney's efforts to argue for a reduced bond, the judge firmly denied the request. Consequently, Bryant will remain in jail until his next hearing, the date of which is currently unknown. Although this case has been resolved, there is still a lingering disappointment within the community regarding the police department's handling of the situation. Many people are questioning why the police enforced their own 48-hour rule in Susanna's case. According to Title 35 of the Georgia Code, such a policy is prohibited, as it states that law enforcement agencies should not have a mandatory waiting period before initiating a missing person report. The necessary actions in response to such reports should be determined at the discretion of the law enforcement agency. This essentially means that the police department was completely wrong in delaying the report for 48 hours, and to make matters worse, there was no reasonable explanation for the Gwinnett County Police Department to wait an entire month before publicly addressing Susanna's disappearance, despite having all the evidence. Alongside their frustration with the Gwinnett Police Department, Susanna's family also holds the Doraville Police Department accountable for their handling of the hiring process. Their attorney, Alex Northover, expressed concerns that the Doraville police failed to take necessary corrective actions in advance. The case against Bryant is still ongoing, and there is hope that justice will be served for Susanna and her family. This case has also raised numerous questions and concerns within the community, particularly regarding how missing children from different backgrounds are treated. In response, Susanna's family organized a panel discussion in Gwinnett County to address these important issues. The Morales family can finally find solace in the knowledge that the perpetrator responsible for their daughter's tragic demise has been apprehended. They are now eagerly anticipating the day when he will be held accountable for his heinous deeds.
In the United States, Bradenton is a Florida city situated south of Tampa. People spend hours browsing the galleries, studios, and shops in the Village of the Arts, which is well known for its vibrantly restored 1920s and 1930s cottages. The likelihood of someone becoming a victim of violent crime in Bradenton is 1 in 35. Since Bradenton's crime rate is higher than 81% of state cities in Florida, it is not regarded as one of the safest places to live in the country. A 20-year-old man named Guadalupe Vela used to reside in a sketchy area of Bradenton, Florida. Being a member of a street gang, he experienced rough days every other day. Guadalupe was having fun at a Santa Fe bar and grill in Bradenton on the evening of June 25, 2006. That evening, all he wanted to do was go out for drinks with his friends. However, he quickly got into a fight with a man from a rival gang and left the bar. Guadalupe went to a relative's home in the 100 block of 33rd Avenue East to cool off. He sighed with relief, thinking he was finally out of the mess, and spent some time at his relative's house. Guadalupe was about to believe he was safe when 2 gunshots were heard. Then there was an absolute silence. Guadalupe was discovered dead in his relative's backyard later that night. The detectives were notified of the tragic incident and responded quickly after receiving the call. They discovered that Guadalupe had been shot twice in the back as they examined his icy, lifeless body in detail. At the crime scene, the investigators also discovered a few 9mm bullet casings, which they gathered as additional evidence. They were informed that quite a few people had seen the shooting, but none of them would speak to the investigators when they tried to question them. The detectives had a hard time linking any suspect to the murder of Guadalupe because there was little evidence and no one willing to talk to them about it. The witnesses remained silent despite the investigators' repeated attempts to speak with them and get them to talk. The case investigation continued for several days without producing any information that would have helped the detectives find Guadalupe's killer. Not much was happening, But the case was still open and detectives were actively searching for fresh leads. After several months, a significant event in October 2006 moved the Guadalupe murder investigation along. Pedro Garcia, a 24-year-old known member of the criminal street gang, East Side Crip, was pulled over in the 1300 block of 9th Avenue West in Bradenton that same month for a traffic infraction. A 9mm gun was found in his car during a detective search, and he was taken into custody for illegal firearm possession. However, it was not until later that the gun was sent for ballistics testing by the Florida Department of Law Enforcement, and the results connected the weapon to the location where Guadalupe's body was discovered. Nevertheless, it was subsequently ascertained that the bullets that struck Guadalupe on the fatal night were probably fired from an alternative weapon. Several witnesses to Guadalupe's shooting came forward in the years that followed, informing detectives that Pedro had spoken with them about killing Guadalupe. With the witnesses now coming forward, the detectives thought they might be able to apprehend Guadalupe's killer. Although Pedro was now a suspect in Guadalupe's death, the investigators lacked the proof they needed to charge Garcia. For the time being, Pedro was free to walk the streets. Many years later, in 2022, Pedro was connected to a different Bradenton murder case from 2014, and the investigators issued an arrest warrant for him. Samuel Conde, a 25-year-old man, was identified as the murder victim in 2014. On December 20, 2014, early in the morning, a group of people had gathered at a location on Bradenton's 9th Street East, close to 37th Avenue East. This location, which was fairly remote, was the preferred choice for gang members looking to buy alcohol illegally after the neighborhood bars closed for the evening. Samuel was among those drinking on that December night. After confirming that rival gang members had engaged in combat, the detectives were able to determine that Samuel had been shot and killed by an unknown individual. Authorities did receive some leads in the days following the horrifying event, but they were unable to solve the case. Again, the nature of the crime was the reason for this. Those who saw the shooting decided not to talk to the detectives at all because it was another gang rivalry shooting. Fortunately, the detectives were able to speak with the witnesses in 2012 and were able to solve the unsolved case. Pedro was still free on bond, despite the fact that he was now facing charges related to Samuel's death. Even though the detectives were positive that Pedro killed Guadalupe in 2006, they were unable to bring charges against him because the witnesses to the crime remained silent about the entire incident. But later in 2022, when the witnesses began to speak, the detectives in Guadalupe's case finally got lucky. They discovered that Pedro admitted to another prisoner that he killed Guadalupe in June 2006 while he was housed in the Manatee County Jail in 2015 on unrelated charges. When the detectives learned that Pedro had provided particulars about the evening and the crime scene, their curiosity grew even more. Pedro claims that on June 25, 2006, at the Sante Fe Bar and Grill in Bradenton, he and Guadalupe, an East Side Crips rival gang member, got into a fight. The altercation between the two men began inside the bar and persisted outside as well. After exchanging a few harsh words, they parted ways. Pedro later showed up at Guadalupe's relative's home in the 100 block of 33rd Avenue East. As their argument grew more heated, Pedro finally pulled out a gun and pointed it at Guadalupe. Pedro gave him 2 back shots as he attempted to flee. This and additional evidence were sufficient to result in an arrest at last. The 40-year-old Pedro is accused of Guadalupe Vilas' second-degree murder by detectives from the Manatee County Sheriff's Office's Homicide Investigative Unit. Pedro, who was still free on bond in connection with the murder of Samuel, was apprehended after being discovered in Bradenton at the 800 block of 30th Avenue West. A 16-year-old unsolved case has now been resolved. Investigators think Pedro may have been involved in other violent crimes from the early to mid-2000s that remain unsolved.